Tactics, Part 2. In Part 1, I walked you through a series of about 6 or 7 problems and utilized the method that I use to calculate tactics, doing a material count, analyzing threats, and then looking for weaknesses, areas of attack, and so on. Um, I got a lot of good feedback on that video, and some of the emails I received essentially say the same thing, which is, hey, you only did 7 problems. Could you do maybe 10 problems and maybe once or twice a month? So that way I can follow along and apply the same methodology when I'm going through my tactical problems if I go to Lichess or wherever I go. So, sure. Yeah, no problem. So here I am on Lichess, and let's start with problem 1. Same as always, we count the number of pawns, 6 to 5. So white is up a pawn. And let's look at the minor pieces. 2 minors for me. I'm sorry, 2 minors for black, 1 for me. So he's up a piece right now. And that's it. So he's up a piece. Is there any threat to my king or any of my major pieces? No. But I do see a move, and I saw it immediately when I looked at this problem. And that is just knight f6 check, which exposes the queen to attack. And even though that looks very obvious, as I said in my other video when I was where I was crushing my opponent, and then suddenly I get all overconfident and the game is just equal. I want to make sure that there isn't some response that black has that is equally strong. Now, fortunately, in this position, it isn't all that complex where there are pieces all over the board and there's mate threats. So I think knight f6 looks very comfortable. Knight f6 has to take. If he doesn't take or he just moves, I just take the queen, and I don't see any retribution there. So I'm just going to play it. All right, take the queen, and that's the end of that. That's 1. Number 2. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 pawns for white, 7 pawns for black, a bishop each, and a rook each, and a queen. Okay, so this is very equal material. I think the question now is, uh, where are the weaknesses, right? Where are the threats? So I kind of sort of have a back rank mate situation. So, I mean, it's my move, but I got to be careful of this because my king is very, very, very vulnerable here. So that's the first thing I noticed, and I got to be careful. The other thing I noticed is that this bishop here is holding the rook. So, yeah, I mean, despite the mate threat, I want to think about this though for a little bit. So, what do I do to maintain this? And I think the first thing I see is rook takes, I'm not going to play it, but just rook takes c8. I'm going to play this in my head here. Bishop takes, and then queen check picks up the bishop. I have to be careful, and I want to make sure that there's some counterplay here. So after takes, queen check, king moves, queen takes c8. This queen can take on e3, but I think I can defend by playing queen back to c2. And I'm just checking to see if there's anything else. That looks good. So let me just take and check here. Takes. And okay, that's right. All right, number 3. Oh, he just took a pawn. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 pawns. So black now has 2 pawns. He just took another one. So he got very greedy, which is usually a sign of an issue because as you can see, his king is uncastled. There's no threats to the position in terms of me hanging any pieces, but his queen is mighty vulnerable over here. And the question is it vulnerable to the point where I can trap it? First move I see here, uh, again, we all have the same amount of material. He has 2 knights, 2 minors, I have 2 rooks, all that is equal. He's up 2 pawns. So if I move the rook over 1 as the first move I see, it looks like it traps the queen. Um, but does he have another move? The answer is yes. He plays queen to b2. So it's not exactly trapped. All right, so it's not going to be quite as easy as that. Let me see here. Well, unless there's something else I'm not seeing. I can take the b7 pawn. It's hanging, but that's a typical passive move. Now I say that it might be the best move, but as I've said before, when you're presented with a tactical move like this, a tactical position, obviously there's some sort of win here. In a regular game, who knows, right? Maybe rook b7 is the right move. So rook a1, I'm still looking at queen b2. Is there any other follow-up I'm missing here? And I don't see it. It's almost like, yeah, if I play a move like queen c1, it looks really slow. And then rook a1, now he's got queen b3. So I'm not sure. I got to look at this in some depth here. I'm only going to give myself a minute or two to look to find this. If I can't find it, well, I can't find it. I didn't guarantee I was going to get everyone right. That's a good lesson overall anyway. So yeah, rook a1, queen b2, and a bishop c1 hangs the rook. So that can't be right. And sometimes these positions make you look at things like trapping the queen when there isn't a queen trap. So I want to look at other moves like bishop b4. Is that like a preparatory move? bb4 stops castling. That's a good move, but I'm down 2 pawns here. I can take on b7, get my pawn back. I can take on d5, and then that helps the rook. I'm sorry, helps the queen get back into the game. What else is there? I can play c5, really trapping the queen here. I mean, giving him no moves, truly, to get out of this. That's a really tough situation for him to be in, too. Jeez. C5. Yikes. I feel like I'm missing something on, or maybe it's a preparatory move. I have like bishop c3 first, right? Bishop c3 first. Then I can play rook a1. That might be the rook a1 is too early. So bishop c3. Where does he go? He can't go to a dark square. He's got to go queen a6. I play c5, and he's sort of trapped. I'm going to try that. I've been looking for a while. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Let's see. No, I'm wrong. Okay. Well, it's not rook a1, is it? No. So this is a tough problem. You can tell by the fact that it's -2. If it were an obvious move, it would be like -20. What's the solution? Oh, see, I was right. It is queen c1, preparing. That's interesting. And then I can do it. Yep. So it was. I did have the right idea, but -2. All right. Next problem. What do we got? 4. Number 4. Okay. Three pawns to three pawns. Each has a miner, one rook. Well, black is obviously threatening. His pawn is moving down the field here. This is going to be a little tough. So what's the right move? Well, the first thing I see is that this bishop is strangely placed, and a rook check here forces the king off it, and frankly, it puts it in a bad situation. So I'm going to play. I feel very comfortable saying that rook a6 is winning, but let's just check. Rook a6, where does the king move? He only has one legal square, which is e7. Now the question is there actually a mate here? I'm going to play check. Okay, it is the right move, and I just win the piece, and that's it. See, I only get 2 points because it's a fairly simple problem. Tough problems give you like plus 10, 15, and sometimes 20 points, which is a very tough problem. All right, here's a tactical situation. 6 pawns for white, 5 pawns for black. He just took a pawn, obviously. Three minors, two rooks, a queen. Okay, everything is set. Now he just took a pawn, and obviously he's threatening something. The idea, I think, is if I take, what happens? Queen takes, and then he has something like knight g5 maybe, which is a good move. I don't know. It's fair enough, I guess. The other thing I'm noticing is this rook is out of play, the queen's out of play. These pieces are really not participating in the battle, whereas white's rooks are pretty menacing looking. They're bearing down on these files. They can also lift at some point and come over. Uh, Lots of options here. Again, not yet, but just in the future. These knights are very good. So I think it's very fair for me to say that white is better here, generally speaking. Now, after this capture, I don't know, but let's just see here. Okay, so capturing looks like it's dangerous because I have no way to really defend, and this pawn on e5 really bites down on the center and on my piece activity. I'm looking at g6 right now, and the reason why is this sounds like a strange intermezzo move, but where does the queen go? After g6, he can't go here because of the bishop. Let me just outline these diagonals here, right? These are where these raking bishops are massive. After I play g6, where does he go? And the answer is, I don't think anywhere. There's no square that's safe, so I'm going to play it. And that's the right move. He took the rook, obviously. I'm taking the queen. Takes, and I take back, and look at that, I get 23 points. I don't think that was a tough problem, but apparently the system thought. All right, so here we go, number 5. Okay, 5 pawns to 7 pawns. So black is up 2 pawns. Two minor pieces, rooks are the same. And we got some issues here. I'm not castled. He is not castled either. He played his king manually to f8. It's a little awkward. My queen is in jeopardy. That's the first thing in terms of threats I got to be careful of, right? Look at the threats first to yourself before you start looking at your opponent. What else is there? Well, I realize I can't take this knight because my rook hangs, right? This rook is hitting this other guy here. But I realize the way to get around this is if I play queen check, he has to move or do something, right? Or play knight back. And once that happens, I can take the knight. What I'm challenged on though is, okay, I was thinking, can I just take the knight? No, because I get my queen gets taken. All right, so I'm going to play this. This looks very simple to me, but let's just double check. Queen d6, check. Let's look at some moves here. King g8, I take the knight. King e8, take the knight. Knight e7 to block the check. H6 g5. So every move uh, looks very strong. Also, his queen is really hemmed in here. He doesn't have any scope at all. I mean, it's not a good piece. So let's just play it. I think I'm comfortable. Yep, he moves king e8. That's one of the variations we looked at. And I just take it. Yep. Okay. Number 6. Okay. 5 pawns for white, 5 for black. He just took a pawn. Uh, okay, 2 minors. Well, he just took my bishop, so I have to restore the material balance here. So right now he's got 3. I have 2 rooks. However, what's interesting here is the dynamics of this position. Look at these rooks. Just forgetting variations. Just look how strong they are. Bearing down. That's just an enormous situation here. This king is not castled. It's open and exposed. These bishops are very nice, but they're not really helping in the game very much. So what can I do to take advantage of these rooks? And the first move I see is bishop to b4 discovered check, which from my perspective has got to be winning. I don't see how he stops that because it's hitting the queen and checking at the same time. I don't see a way for him to even get to my king with check, so I'm going to play it. And I'm right. Okay, so I'll just take the queen. All right, number 7. Okay, 4 pawns for white. Well, I'm black here, okay. And 4 pawns for black. Uh, White just played a6 check. So he's checking me with the pawn. I think the idea is for me to take, and then he plays, rook check. This is an ending. And ending tactics sometimes are boring, but they're very important. I can't stress it enough. If you have a game on endings, game collection on endings, or you have a book like John Nunn's Tactical Chess Endings, I would highly recommend it. I'll put it in the link in my blog because it's just a great book, and it's important to understand how endings work. Okay, so let's see what the moves are. If I can take, um, the problem with taking is what? Rook takes, then back. Not sure what the better move is here. If I go king a7, just say, okay, I'm not going to take it. He plays his king forward, but then can I just push this pawn? That's what I'm looking at here. That's what I'm seeing so far. This pawn is dangerous. The rook is behind the pawn. There's nothing more dangerous generally than a protected pass pawn that has a rook behind it like this. I'm just trying to figure out, is there any counterplay? So if I take, yeah, if I take the pawn, he has rook check, and I don't know. I'm not sure if it does anything, but it is scary. But it may not matter. And if I play king c7, then I'm lost, right? If I play here, then he pushes the pawn and he's going to queen. So I got to be careful. All right, let's look here. I kind of like king a7 on king c6. I push, then he takes, push again, and then I'm going to queen that pawn. I don't like taking. Taking looks a little greedy, and I could take it maybe king a6, rook takes g6 check, king back to b7. Oh, then he has rook b6 check. I don't know if you're following or not, and he gets behind the pawn. So what I was thinking is, just really quickly, if I take, see if you can follow this here. He takes me check. I go back to b7. He goes rook over check. I move wherever, and then he plays a move like this. He gets behind the pawn, and he might still be worse, but I'm not sure it's winning for me either way. I'm gonna play king a7 because I think that's winning. I could be wrong, but it looks that way. Let's see. Yes. Okay, and king c6. Okay, so sure enough, my idea works. Push, push. He can't save this. Yep, game over. All right, on to 8. I got one wrong. That's not that bad. Okay, king b5. Sorry, he plays king g4. So which way am I? Black. Okay. 3 pawns to 3 pawns. This is a weird position here. So we got 2 minors. He has 1 minor, but he's got a queen on me. So he's got some serious material. So whatever I got to do, I have to do very quickly. There can't be a lot of pause. That's for sure. Okay. Is there any threats? Yeah, all over the place. So I have to end this game fairly fast with a mate sequence, and it's perhaps not easy. So first thing I'm going to look at, if I play a move like check, he just takes it, and then we're even in material. So that doesn't look that appealing, even though I certainly wouldn't mind it. Uh, Knight f6 check. Interesting. I don't think that wins either. Is it knight f6, king h4? Nope, I don't see that. Hmm. This is tough. Usually even because everything has to be very exact here. I don't have a lot of waiting moves. Sometimes there are chess positions where you could afford to screw up your combination and don't get it right and it still works. It's winning, just not as winning. But this is a position I think that I have to play precisely. If I miss anything here, I'm going to be either lost or drawn. Like rook f4, for example, was the move I was looking at. That's just he just takes it with the queen, takes, and then it's just equal, in my opinion. Anyway, I don't know. Looks. Could I be wrong? Yes, but let's just see what happens. So knight f6 looks like the only move I can even force check without any kind of consequences. I don't see any. So knight f6, king to the hole, king h4. So I'm thinking here. So knight check, king over here. What happens? On h4, where do I check him? Can I check him? Oh, yes, I can. I can play knight g2, check. And I think that is mate. Let me double check. Knight f6, king h4, knight g2, check. Where does he go? h3, no. g4, no. h5, no. That's the move. Tough one. It's a double 9 attack, which is sometimes tough to see, and this is it, mate. Okay, that's it. 9. Coming up on 9. Okay. Okay, let's see. 3, 4, 6. 6, okay. 3 minors, 3 minors, 2 rooks, 2 rooks. Okay, so what's going on here? Where are my threats here? Well, he just played h6, so he's threatening my bishop. That's pretty obvious. And the bishop is holding my rook. So that's a problem. But what I'm noticing immediately, because of the weakness of this queen diagonal here, that rook takes g6 check exposes the queen, and looks like it should win. The only thing is, it's probably enough to win. I'm just thinking now. Oh, I think that has to be the move. I don't see what else it could be. So let's just try that. Check. Well, hold on. Trying is not trying. Do or not doing. That's what has to happen here. So I think that's the only move I see. I can't move the bishop anywhere because it just hangs the rook. I'm losing it anyway, is the point. I'm losing a piece. So I'm gonna go. I think rook g6 makes sense. Yes, takes, and like that. Oh, I'm winning. Okay, final position. After what, about 20 minutes of doing this? It takes about a half hour of tactic training, I think is usually what it takes. Although it varies. Sometimes tactics training takes 10 minutes. It depends on the problems you're given and how much time you spend. Usually you're not talking like I am, so it's a little faster. Okay. 3, 4, 5 pawns, 2, 4 pawns. Black is threatening what? Check. It doesn't really do much. I just move my king up. So no immediate mate threats that I see for myself. So what about my attacking him? Okay, he is hemmed in here. See these? Immediately I see these squares taken. But what I don't want to have him do is be able to escape out here and start running, right? That's something I want to avoid. Just keeping this in mind, what's a good move? Could play a move like this to try and trap him and then bring the other rook over. But the problem is, as soon as I do that, he can uh, defend by playing his rook over, right? So not exactly the move we're looking at here. All right. If I just hit him with check that way. All right, now actually I just found it. So see, this is how your mind sort of plays tricks with you. It's simpler than that. It's just here. Check. Right? Where does he go? He has to block with the rook, and then I take it, and it's mate. Getting mated. Am I going to double check? Sure. Rook a6. There's no move. I mean, there's no move. He has no moves. No way to take the rook. No way to block it. Well, there is a way to block it with rook b6, which loses. So let's do it. And that is problem 10. Hoped it helped. Happy to do more of these at some sort of interval, maybe like once a month, a couple times a month. Leave comments, and happy to do more if needed. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you in the next video. Thank you.